like to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order, and the first order of business is roll call.
It's finding your seat. No, I'm
Kowal?
just kidding.
Here. Zach is absent with notice. Long?
Here.
Tubb?
Here.
Fleming?
Here.
Crawford? Woodward?
Woodward.
Here. Bowman?
Here.
Middleton?
Here. We have a quorum. Next is pledge allegiance to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, I need a motion to approve the minutes of November 30th and December 20th. Fleming and Tom. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next is a presentation of the agenda. I have no changes to it. If I'll take a motion to accept the agenda as printed. Fleming and Bowman. So, any questions on the agenda? If not, all those in favor of accepting the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next is public comment, and probably the first thing I want to comment is on the change of venue here. The way I did this once before is to set at this end, and the reason is when you sit down to that end, there's always commotion around the coffee pot. There's discussion, a lot of distractions to the chairman when you're sitting down there. So I've moved it down here. We did it for a few months anyway, and then the television people had a problem because they had cameras set up and it didn't work for them. But since we've remodeled and put in permanent cameras, I'm able to do this again. So it's just easier for me, and unless somebody has a big objection to it, this is the way it'll be. Next, also in public comment, you'll notice all the members have blue ribbons on. Today at 2 o'clock, we have a press conference on human trafficking, and that's what the blue ribbons are for. So, is there anyone from the public that would like to address the Finance Committee this morning? Seeing none, I'll close public comment, and we'll go on to the contingency report. Need a motion to accept receive and file the contingency report. Kowal's moving it, Woodward supporting it. So, go ahead.
Good morning. On page 1 of the contingency report, which is page 15 of your PDF, there's a general contingency balance of $53,073, and there are no items on today's agenda that impact that amount. We flip to page 20 of your PDF, which is page 6 of the report, under miscellaneous capital outlay. There's 2 items. One, approved a memo for the sheriff's office replacing furniture in the amount of $14,986. And then with the year-end report back in December, there was a carry forward of $69,000. So that was added into have a new total of $607,189. And then on page 7, which is page 21 of your PDF, under grant match, there is also a carry forward of grant match funds from the year-end report, leaving a new total of $1.3 million.
Any questions? If not, all those in favor of receive and file signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next, we'll go to communications. Need a motion to accept communications receive and file of A, B, C, and D. Okay, Crawford's moving it, Kowal's supporting it. So, any questions on it? Yes, Shelley.
Mr. Chair, I have questions on A, C, and D. So I'll start with A.
Which one is that?
A is the information technology and engineering, and facilities planning and engineering. I'm not quite certain what we're doing here.
Okay, we got an answer right now at the end of the table.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Tim from Information Technology. I also have Chris Burrows, our Chief Information Security Officer here, if we've got more detailed questions. This is a security assessment of the facilities in the county property. We did do some informal bidding. We have done a small proof of concept with this vendor, and we would ask not to send this out to bid because of the security related content, physical security assessment that we're asking them to do.
Go ahead.
I got a question, Chris, on the, in the open press yesterday or the day before, you talked about security and the change of security coming from meetings and things. Was this in addition to what we're talking about in this, or?
Totally different issue.
Okay, that was personnel.
That's, yeah.
This is hardware that we're talking about, gonna be?
Well, this is a survey of the facilities themselves, of the buildings, the access points, physical entry into the buildings. And in order to, similar to the fences that we've added around some of the buildings, this will be at the building level itself. And we have done a proof of concept in the IT building. We were very happy with the report, the format, and the contents of that report. So we want to do that for the rest of the facilities on the county property.
Okay, so now I'm a little bit confused. Is this IT protection as well as actually protecting the people in the building and the physical plant?
It's related to the IT protection, but this is specifically more related to the facilities. But security is a joint responsibility between facilities and IT.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Yes, Commissioner Woodward.
I mean, along the same line of Commissioner Taub's question, I assume that there are other vendors that do this.
There are.
There are other vendors who do that. So, the argument of why we want to go with the same vendor is that they did it with IT, happy with the product, want to do it with the other buildings. When we did IT, did that go out to bid?
No, it was a very small proof of concept, so it did not go out to bid. We have, this is a vendor that's come highly recommended. We've been very happy with the proof of concept. We did do 3 other vendors. We did informal quotes on a price per square foot. And that's basically how we got the pricing on this particular contract, is by square foot of the facilities.
So, the formal bidding process for the selection of this bigger project or the IT project?
We did an informal review of the price per square foot with 3 other vendors, informally asking them what their price per square foot was. This vendor is very comparable to that. So we're comfortable that it is a reasonably competitive bid without having gone through a formal bidding process. We didn't want to go out to the formal bidding process because of basically the sensitivity of the information we'd have to provide to the vendors. We didn't want that being out too far in the public. Access points and the security information of our facilities, we didn't really want that released too far to the public.
I definitely understand. I understand that. But at the same time, we were talking all our facilities on campus. Is it all our facilities totally?
Correct.
Our campus.
On this campus.
On campus. So, I guess I can understand that, but I am a little concerned that, I guess when it comes to any type of security issue, this is like the framework, if there's a security issue that we're going to avoid going out to bid, I think is problematic from a policy point of view. And I guess, I assume this has already been done, and it's before us now. We've granted this contract already to them. We're not approving the contract, it's already been done.
I believe so.
Okay,
Yep.
so it's kind of a moot point I'm talking about. I guess, but from the future is, how do we balance and reconcile the security concerns with a appropriate public building process? And security alone is not enough to completely negate going up to bid. And I appreciate that there was an informal process trying to say, are we in the right price point? I think that could help inform it. I think it's a broader conversation actually for this body and IT to say, how do we reconcile this? And obviously we've already done this one, but I am uneasy letting security be the reason that we don't put something out to bid. And to ensure that we're getting cost competitive prices. So you mentioned something that this firm comes highly recommended. And then my last question would be, I guess,
well, that's how we initiated the pilot.
Who recommended them?
They have been used in the past. Chris, I don't know if you have the specific names, but
Used by us?
So I'm Chris Burrows at CSEL. So Titan Group
The owner of Titan Group was the director of GM Security, Physical Security, for 30 years. And he came recommended through a police group that he's associated with Southeast Michigan police chiefs. So Mike McCabe and there are other people involved in the recommendation of this company.
And those are all, I think, good. I trust the advice of those leaders. I also think from a bidding process that we need to have a system. And so I mean, I've already done this, but I don't know, Mr. Chairman, how do we have a conversation around a policy moving forward around this?
Yeah, I guess to look at our exception reports, what falls under a qualification for an exception report is what you're asking for, that we maybe narrow that down from what we have.
Yeah, you know, and I don't know, I mean, I guess I don't want to hinder things, and IT is definitely involved in those unique things. We work with vendors, you have established relationships, so this type of thing is likely to come before us. This is like new enough, and I guess what I don't want is $1 million expenditure to a vendor. We cite security reasons why we didn't put it out to bid. It's just not good enough for me. I mean, I guess I would throw it out to the whole group. Now, this is nowhere near that, and I think it does fall by definition under our exception report. I guess my question is, from a broader policy point of view, I guess I don't like security being used until we don't do something like that. And I guess, is there a way to balance that?
Yeah, Scott's back there champing at the bit.
See, see, this is why I like to be against that wall. I'm sorry.
So, Dave, this came up sort of sudden, but we actually went out and got some informal quotes. But in the future, what we thought about and which we would implement is we could go out and qualify firms without really divulging all the specifics, bring those in, and then when they would come in, we would have them sign a non-disclosure form. And we would check that references, of course, reported to make sure that they would not disclose it, and then give them the specifics, and then they could respond.
Okay, yeah, that would.
So, you know, it'd be a longer process, but it would work.
Okay. Now, does that have to be formally initiated, or that's going to be part of the exception?
It's a process we do already, so we wouldn't have to think.
Okay.
We wouldn't need an exception.
Okay. Good enough then. Any more questions on A? Okay. On B, on Clemens funds, I had a question. Over Christmas, we had a 911 problem. Is anyone going to address that? I mean, it's not directly with the Clemens report, the statement. I went through that whole report last night looking to see if there was any note in there about the glitch that we had at over Christmas. Go ahead.
Thank you. We've had several issues in the last, since the gas explosion in Orion, from a time frame perspective, which was back in November. We've had several incidents with issues with the system's ability to handle calls. We actually met just yesterday with all of the vendors. There are 3 primary vendors in this particular 911 system, and they are still troubleshooting the root cause of some of the issues. The latest issue we're having with calls is that some of them are getting disconnected midstream. At the moment, we are running on the backup system, so we don't have any performance or operational issues with 911 in Oakland County at the moment. The sheriff's office is running on the backup system at the moment. We met with Mel and the vendors yesterday, and we're going to stay on the backup system for a couple more days until the vendors add some additional monitoring and what they call packet capturing. It's a new technology. It's a voice over IP phone system, so it's voice communication going over a digital communication line, similar to your computer's connection, and it's much more complicated to troubleshoot and track. In some cases, it's not as reliable, but it is the direction that the telecom industry is going. We, in fact, pricing is skyrocketing on traditional copper telephone lines. We will always have some of those as backups, and at the moment we do in our sheriff's office and in the other public safety access points, the PSAPs. So what's being done right now is troubleshooting of some of the root cause of these lost calls. We are down to just a very small number. We had some lost calls a few days ago, which is why we're running on the backup right now. We are planning to go back to the primary, and the vendors are all committed to continuing to work through this. These vendors are providing service nationwide. So we're not the only county that's using these vendors. We're not the only customer of these vendors. So they are working on things that really are going to affect other municipalities as well. We have identified the root cause of the Christmas outage, and that has been resolved, and it had to do with the ability of the multiple computers to stay synchronized with each other. That's been root caused, and that's been resolved.
But we're not completely out of the woods yet.
We are not. We are not.
Do you have, and it's affecting a lot of communities, not only here in Oakland County, but they're committed to solving the problem.
Oh, absolutely.
There's not a change of vendors that we could go to that would have.
Not in any manner of expediency. We can't go back to the old method. In order to get on the new system, the 911 team, the vendors, and our sheriff's office and the local communities, we have been converting telephone lines from the local carriers for a couple of years now. So to go back would take a couple of years to go backwards, which would also mean renegotiating telecom agreements with all of those local carriers that we've canceled at this point. Yeah, going back is really not an option. It's also difficult from a tariff and regulation standpoint. The tariffs and regulations about 911 service require certain types of functionality, and that's what we're moving toward.
Okay, it's not as simple as just dialing 911 then.
It should be to all of us that use 911, but yeah, the underlying technology is very complex.
Okay. Yes.
I can only add that the Sheriff's Office is very confident, and we appreciate the support that we're getting from IT, from Clemens, from the County Executive's Office to solve the problem. It is, as he's explained, very complicated. It's the route we have to go because that's the way the industry is going, and there's some glitches. We have our backup systems in place, and we're very confident that it's getting the attention from the vendors and from the appropriate stakeholders in this to solve the problem. So.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Eileen. Commissioner Coble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to ask if you were able to reconnect with those calls that were dropped?
That got dropped.
Yeah.
In some cases, I guess I don't know 100% for sure. Obviously, the first thing that the dispatcher tries to do is to reconnect, and that is one of the one of the things in the system is we get automatic location and number identification. So they absolutely do try to reconnect. Whether or not they were successful 100% of the time, I don't know.
Our protocol is in most instances one of the first things we do is identify location and a callback number. So at the very beginning of the conversation, we generally capture information that will allow us to one way or another to reconnect with that address or that phone number.
Okay. That was communication B. Communication C, or top. C or D?
Yes, I don't know who put C on there, but I think that we should have some kind of an explanation, whether it comes to GG or this committee, I don't care, but I had no clue that the Area Agency on Aging was on probation by the Department of Health and Human Services. We follow that organization. Yeah, I think we need to, somebody's got to ask some questions. Yeah, so I don't care where it goes, but is there anybody here? Maybe we'll invite them into this meeting since it was on.
So, I mean, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
so Commissioner Zach, who's not able to be here today.
Right.
I mean, sits on their board.
Okay.
So my guess is she can answer this. I mean, I don't know if this is, I mean, we, obviously, the resources that we invested in was for a specific program, contract for services. To my, I've inquired, those services are being delivered, but I think Commissioner Zach could give us a very quick response to
Yeah.
that.
Commissioner Long?
Didn't we have the resolution after we had some problems that said it was probationary or something in that resolution or something? Yeah, remember, we didn't,
This is different.
that's different.
This is
isn't it?
different.
From the state of Michigan.
Oh, the
From the
state,
state of
that's not from-
Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
Never mind.
I think it would behoove us to have maybe the director and Commissioner Zach in next time, perhaps, to explain what this is all about. Because all of us have constituents who depend on area agency on aging, either directly or through their senior centers or whatever. So I think it would be appropriate to bring someone in. I didn't know anything about this.
Okay. This, our action today will receive and file this, but we'll ask for Aline to give us an update and bring in.
And I guess, I mean, I think it's really important that we were talking about this. I mean, one of the later paragraphs, if you read it, like, this request by AASA does not reflect a lack of support or commitment on part of AASA for assisting AAA 1B to correct identified weaknesses in its financial management system. So, nor does it reflect a lack of effort on part of area agent in addressing the requirements. So I think that's, I mean, put in context.
Oh, the
Yeah.
financial reporting.
And
Yeah, but I think we ought to know as a board what's going on. Okay?
Item D, did anybody have anything on that?
I did.
That's Novice Brownfield District public hearing.
Okay, I just had a question. What's an industrial development district? Is that just the industry?
Dan, that's not what you're here for today, but that's.
Yeah, good.
That question.
Oh, it is Public Act 198 of 1974. It's industrial tax abatement that is up to the communities to provide when there are significant expansions and investment. So in this case, I think Oratex is a Japanese-based company, and they're like doubling the size of their facility, and their request was of the city of Novi for 50% reduction under the industrial development district.
Okay, so shouldn't this go to the other new committee as well?
It could,
Okay,
as an information item.
yeah, I think it should go.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
Chris? Okay.
Okay, those are, those are my questions. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
We've, normally we don't have to go through every one of those issues on communication. Today we did, that was good. The motion is to receive and file communications A, B, C, and D. All those in favor of the motion to receive and file signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Next is, we go to the regular agenda. Item number 1 is Friend of the Court, fiscal year 2017, access and visitation grant acceptance. Need a motion. Tahab and Fleming. Before you start, if you notice, about 4 or 5 people left when we got done with communications. When we first started on this committee, that used to be at the end of the agenda, and people would sit here for an hour, hour and a half, and then communications quite often just comes up, we vote, and we're done. But those people had to stay. So we changed communication. This is the only committee that the communications goes first, and it's so that staff doesn't have to stay around, and then quite often not inform the question. And I forgot about that, but when I seen that whole group move, I thought, oh, okay, that it's working, so. Okay.
The other staff stay longer.
Yeah, yeah, that's true too. Okay, regular agenda, we're on item number 1. Go ahead. And we have a motion that's already in place.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Jeanette Leshin with Friend of the Court, and this is for the Access and Visitation Grant. It is pass-through funding of federal funds, and this is to provide services to low-income individuals who may need supervised parenting time. This will be the 21st year for this grant, and we get a lot of folks that like using it. So, any
Okay,
questions?
Commissioner Todd has a question.
Are you using the same organization that has provided? Okay.
Yes.
I'm just going to tell everyone that I know someone who gets services from this organization. They do an excellent job. I will be supporting this.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 1.
Long,
Yes.
Tubb,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 2, Sheriff's Office fiscal year 2018 underage drinking enforcement grant acceptance. Need a motion. Crawford and Long. Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Major Smith, Sheriff's Office. I'm here to encourage you to accept this grant. It's from TIA, Traffic Improvement Association. It's state money that we receive that we utilize to do sting operations at liquor establishments, package and non-package establishments for sales to underage persons. We focus particularly around the time of graduation, and we focus at times and locations where there are going to be a lot of underage people at functions where alcohol is served.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh.
So, I mean, this is not a lot of money.
No, this is about 17,000.
Is this a part of the overall enforcement effort? It doesn't seem like this would pay for much.
You are correct. This is just above and beyond. This is
Above and beyond what we're doing.
our substations routinely, act on information and take their own actions, and we do bar checks, so on and so
Helps
forth.
offset some of this.
Yeah, this is just specific money for specific events.
Yeah, I mean, I know that a number of youth assistant groups and other things go in and do similar, they're obviously not law enforcement, but they engage in trying to do some of this accountability work. Is any of our coordinated effort in partnership with community-based groups, or is this just what we do, Sheriff?
We take input from all types of stakeholders in the community, particularly the school systems. We get information through our school officers where kids are going to, whether somebody who's selling to underage people. So we do coordinate the efforts. And I can tell you that it's very effective. Once we start running these things, the compliance rate really goes up in areas.
Oh, yes, Eileen.
Yes, I'd just like to know if I can volunteer as a decoy.
I'll take your application.
Yes, Commissioner Wood.
I guess lastly, is like these sting operations, do they only happen in areas where we have deputy sheriff contracts?
That's a good question. It came up to the last committee, and the answer is yes for this money. But that being said, each individual department, police department in the state of Michigan is eligible to apply for these grants from the same state authority. And we're just really aggressive at both applying, and we're meticulous at following guidelines and following up with the paperwork that was required to stay inside the lane.
Thank you. Commissioner Todd.
The problem with sitting here is that this table is kind of triangular, so I can't see who person at the head of the table. See, it was set up that way. Okay. Well, it is. It's narrower at that end than it is at this end. Okay? Whatever it is. Some kind of,
Really?
whatever it is, it's not very conducive to be sitting at this end. Okay. You know, I just heard this morning at my previous meeting a tremendous problem with vaping.
Yes.
And not only that, but they're vaping in class, they're sticking that thing up their sleeves, and they're using all kinds of, not just, I shouldn't say tobacco, which is horrendous, but they're using all kinds of other drugs. What are we doing about that? Anything going on?
Well, I can tell you twofold. I recently, last week, processed a memo from one of my school liaison officers on the west side with some photographs of a table full of vapor type equipment that they had seized. It is a trend in the schools. We are at the very beginning stages of looking at whether or not we should pursue some legislation. I'm not saying that's our goal right now. I haven't discussed it with Sheriff Bouchard. But there are people in the field that think that maybe that might help. But also, I've had some discussions with school officials and posed the question of, they ban contraband all the time.
Right.
They can't be brought on campus. Is that maybe a quicker, more efficient way is just to ban it by the school boards to ban it and us to enforce it, you know, and make a deterrent through discipline and punishment for bringing it on campus. But it is a trend, and we're aware of it. You are correct.
Is that illegal, like cigarettes are, or not?
I don't believe it is.
Aha, okay, thank you.
Commissioner Long.
It's just on that, it's not, it's all, but does every school, like I know Walled Lake has school liaisons, do all of them in Oakland County have a school liaison to high schools now? Do you know?
That would be nice.
I used to know. I can tell you that the answer generally is no, not
Okay.
everyone does. It seems to ebb and flow with events around the
right.
country. Right now, I would say we're doing very well, and most of our contracted areas have school liaison
I
officers.
know the contracted ones do, but that's something that I think they almost all need one now for
And I
the
can
other
tell you
ones.
it's a particular
Yeah.
interest of mine, a
I
lot
know.
of experience in it, and I can tell you that the return on investment
It's
for
good.
a properly trained school officer that has the aptitude to be in the school and knows how to relate and interact with the school officials is worth its weight in gold for us. The
I
return
think
is
so,
just
too.
fabulous in many different respects.
Okay, thank you.
To that point, we have a school official that's been injured in Rochester. Is there any update on that situation?
Yes, he still remains critical. There's been some positive developments. There's been some setbacks. We're still in that zone of asking for prayers and hope, and we're doing our vigilance over at the hospital and hoping for the best.
Thank you. Any other questions on item number 2? If not, call the roll.
Taub? Yes. Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Cowell?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Next is item number 3, Sheriff's Office 2018 Traffic Enforcement Grant Acceptance. Need a motion? Cowell and Fleming, go ahead.
Yes, again, we're here to ask for your cooperation in accepting this grant. This is again from the same organization, TIA, Traffic Improvement Association Michigan. They have monies that they make available for evidence-based directed patrols based on their engineering studies and their analysis of UD10 traffic crash reports. Basically, we put out overtime details, traffic officers, and we work specific intersections for specific types of violations, again, based on evidence or specific types of driving behavior. We oftentimes do it in cooperation with other local departments and the Michigan State Police, and in many instances, there's a public awareness component that goes along with that in an effort to change behavior.
Okay, any questions? If not, call the roll on item number 3.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Cowell?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Taub?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Don't leave when you want to talk to you. Next is item number 4.
I can't really.
Parks and Rec support for a request to convert Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund assisted property at Addison Oaks County Park. Need a motion, Long from Parks and Crawford. Who made the motion? Go ahead, Dan.
Good morning. Dan Stetzel, Executive Officer for Oakland County Parks, and Jeff Phelps, our analyst, and Melissa Prowse, our Supervisor of Planning and Resource Development. And I'll let Melissa take it from here.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
So this is a request from the Parks and Recreation Commission to the Board of Commissioners to essentially convert its 0.29 acres of trust fund assisted property at Addison Oaks. And this is in 2009 we installed a 175-foot, well, we didn't install, we had leased to install a cell tower at Addison Oaks, which to the DNR is a conversion of grant assisted property because it technically removes it from public outdoor recreation. So we have to mitigate that. So we purchased in 2016 what we refer to as the Girl Scouts property. It's an acreage to the west of White Lake Oaks, which we had talked to the DNR prior to, and they had confirmed that that would be an acceptable mitigation. So this is just sort of the formal approval by the board of the conversion of the trust fund assisted property.
And the tower doesn't take that much, but you have an access road to the tower. which
Yeah.
So you've included all of that.
Yeah, and they did, we had to have a formal appraisal done and all of that, so it ended up being 0.29 acres.
Any questions? If not, call the roll on item number 4.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Cowell.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Taub.
Yes.
Fleming.
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 5, Department of Health and Human Services, Children's Village Division, interlock agreement between Oakland County and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for the provision of sheltered residents and foster care. Need a motion. Fleming and Colwell. Go ahead.
Morning, I'm Jody Overall from Children's Village,
Kathy Forsley, Director of Health and Human Services.
and Stacy Smith from Fiscal Services.
Yep.
Children's Village currently has a contract with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services that allows us to provide shelter care services to neglected and abused children who are placed by the state at Children's Village. This amendment increases the per diem rate for those services. The increase is from $234.16 to $359.13. The increase went into effect October 1st. The state wasn't able to get the amendment distributed right away. That's why the new rate went into effect prior to this resolution.
Any questions? Todd has one.
What happened? I can do.
This was on their end. They initiated, they had their, they had a public consulting group did a rate proposal study beginning of 2017, and that study recommended an increase for administrative services. So they incorporated that into the per diem for all of the different facilities.
Now, are you getting any funding for computer stuff yet? Or that was one of the things?
No.
Not at all?
That's considered now,
I'm sorry, I can't see you.
They administer now through the new child care fund handbook that went into effect October 1st. There's an allowance for 10% administrative. So on all of our eligible, allowable direct costs, we get 10% that's supposed to cover those types of things. And so far, it's looking like that is more than covering their IT type costs.
Good. Thank you. Thank you,
Any
Mr.
other
Chair.
questions? If not, call the roll on item number 5.
Woodward.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Cowell.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Taub.
Yes.
Fleming.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried, thank you. Next is item number 6, Department of Health and Human Services, Children's Village Division, Oakland County, interlock agreement between Oakland County and the Oakland Community Health Network for psychiatric services for Oakland County Children's Village. Tob is moving it, Long is supporting it, so go ahead.
The Oakland Community Health Network has agreed again this year to provide $75,000 in one lump sum to Children's Village for the provision of psychiatric services. The money was made available to Oakland Community Health Network from the Michigan Department of Community Health.
I had a question. We've gotten to 75,000 in the past.
Yes.
Has it been sufficient to cover what you need to do with that?
Yes, it covers approximately 2/3 of our psychiatric costs for our psychiatrist.
Not all of it, but
No.
it's a simple. Okay, any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 6.
Bowman.
Yes.
Cowell.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Todd.
Yes.
Fleming.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward.
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 7, Economic Development Community Affairs Resolution approving the provisions of a brownfield plan for 585 East South Boulevard, City of Pontiac project. Bowman is moving it, and Fleming is supporting. So, yes. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. Dan Hunter, Deputy Director, Economic Development and Community Affairs, and joined by Brad Hansen, Senior Business Development Representative, and our wonderful analyst, Stacy Smith. This was our first project under the new committee, Economic Development and Community Affairs. This is in Pontiac on South Boulevard, just east of Woodward and west of Updike.
Is that part of that Bloomfield?
No. Part of what, way back 10 years or so, was Center Point Business Campus of General Motors. This is just due west of Ultimate Soccer, which I think is the country's largest indoor soccer and lacrosse facility. In any event, United Shore Mortgage is one of the largest companies in Oakland County with about 2,000 employees. They're in Troy. They've looked and worked both with Troy officials and with us for a number of years on a new location to serve their growing business. And this is the facility that they've chosen. Hewlett-Packard was using just a tiny bit of it for a few years, and prior to that it was a General Motors tech and office facility. They're spending about 69 to 70 million. They have about 2,100 current employees. They expect that could grow another 600. And for details on the brownfield, I'll turn it over to Mr. Hansen.
Good morning. This is indeed a facility, which means that there are some contaminants in the ground that are above standards set forth by the EPA, state of Michigan. So some of the, and basically what that is it's fill material that was brought to the site, probably from the surrounding areas to balance out the site, sometime historically. So that fill area is on the eastern portion of the property, so they'll be removing that. They're hoping that it's not as dirty as it can be because the disposal costs will go up. But basically, you're looking at $2.3 million in overall eligible expenses for the developer to be reimbursed over a number of 11 years through the TIF, through the brownfield plan.
Okay. Any questions? Yeah, Commissioner Dopp.
I'm going to recuse myself from voting. I have a conflict. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
We had a lengthy conversation about the project and support of. I guess one question is, based on the size of this investment, is this project eligible for the Gilbert tax capture district? So I don't know how that happens.
60 million.
I call it the largest giveaway that ever in state history, but
I believe it would be.
Which means it could then capture the income tax of Pontiac. I mean, so now the project becomes less. I mean, if that's the case, then it becomes less exciting to me.
Although the application fee for the transformational brownfield is very significant and very time consuming.
The new transformational brownfield plan, the application and the third-party review is going to cost whoever decides to go for a transformational about $250,000. Talking with United Shore, they're just interested in the standard brownfield plan. They're not interested in any transformational at this point, even going forward. They're interested in getting it renovated into the building. Yeah, so it is.
So it's a project that might be.
It would have been eligible, but they're not interested in the $200 to $250,000 is the numbers we heard as far as third-party review in the application. Plus, it's going to take 18 months to 2 years to get full approval. So that doesn't fit into their timeline.
So you're in the building and everything. Now, could someone go back and do it? I mean, like, we get this in place and then do this on top of it, or?
I'm not too familiar with the bill at this point. I think there's even current amendments to that bill going on currently. So I can't answer that question.
Okay. Any other questions on item number 7? Commissioner Bowman.
More so some statements related to the project in and of itself. We had a chance to meet with the Visa family. Very encouraged about this development coming into the community. Just wanted to note on some of the findings from the environmental study specifically, and reflecting on really the value of what this brownfield is going to facilitate. Unappropriate levels of lead, arsenic, Sellingham, correct. But essentially, as a result of this brownfield, those elements will be removed. I know that this development specifically is working towards increasing the parking for the incoming employees. And so it's a welcome development, and we're looking forward to this being increased parking. Thank you.
Any other questions on item number 7? If not, call the roll.
Long, let's see, Cowell?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Taub?
Recuse myself.
Okay,
Oh,
sorry about
great.
that. Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is item number 8, Board of Commissioners update policy for participation in the Downtown Development Authority, Corridor Improvement Authority, Local Development Financing Authority, and limitations on tax capture of all TIFA authorities. Commissioner Colwell is moving in. Okay. Okay, and supported by Colwell. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a fairly straightforward issue. As you know, you created a new Economic Development and Community Affairs Committee in December.
As a standing committee.
As a standing committee of the board. Traditionally, the Planning and Building Committee had those issues under their jurisdiction. The Planning and Building Committee chairman was on the TIF committee. In our board rule changes, we had made that change that the new EDCA chairman would be on the TIF committee. So we need to bring the TIF policy into compliance with the board rule change. So this is just a simple swap of the new EDCA chairman for the P&B chairman. For practical purposes, we may end up with the same members because Commissioner Spiz, the EDCA chairman, is on as the Board of Commissioners appointee right now. Commissioner Weipert is on there as a P&B chairman. Commissioner Gingham may just appoint Commissioner Weipert as his appointee, and Commissioner Spiz will be on there as the EDCA chairman. So you may not see a change of membership, but just in terms of their designation.
Really, the only change is it's on page 334 of your iPad. So, Commissioner Todd.
Yes, it would be helpful too if this is given to our new committee as a receive and file thing so they know. Also, in addition to that, okay, well, that would be good to have. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on item number 8? If not, call the roll.
Long?
Yes.
Taub?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Cowell?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Is there any other business to be brought before the board, the Finance Committee today? If not, reminder that at 2 o'clock we have a press conference on human trafficking. And if there is no objection, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you.